Hello, mentor teachers. My name is Erin Stalsberg. I am the edTPA coordinator for teacher education at the University of St. Thomas. First of all, I want to thank you for welcoming our mentor teachers into your classroom this year. We really appreciate that, and I know their experiences will be fantastic. I want to take a minute to update you on the edTPA teacher performance assessment that your student teacher is currently embarking on. I'm sure you have started to hear a lot about it, and we appreciate your partnership with them as they are beginning to plan their learning segment. I have a few slides that I'm going to share with you. Feel free to go back in your own time to review them, but I'm going to briefly go through each one just to give you a high-level understanding of what the edTPA is that our students are completing. The edTPA is a national performance assessment. It's available nationally as well as required by many states to assess teacher readiness for new teachers. The edTPA was developed by faculty and staff at Stanford Center for Assessment Learning and Equity, and then it was sold to Pearson. Currently, there are 741 education prep programs that are using the edTPA as one measure of teacher effectiveness. In Minnesota, the edTPA is one of many program completion requirements reviewed before a candidate is recommended for licensure. At the University of St. Thomas, it is mandatory for each student to pass the edTPA with state passing scores in order for us to recommend them for licensure to the state of Minnesota. The edTPA is broken up into 3 different sections: planning, instruction, and assessment. We tell our students often this is the cycle of effective teaching. You guys know this. You're doing this successfully every day. You're planning, you're instructing, you're assessing. It's cyclical because we're going back and forth around the circle all day, every day. To break it up specifically, each of the 3 tasks has specific requirements that each student is completing. In task 1, the planning task, students are completing a context for learning where they are looking at the makeup of their class, the demographics, and everything that goes into that learning environment for those students. Students are asked to create 3 to 5 lesson plans that will be called a learning segment. I tell the students often that they don't need to have 5 in order for this to be a TPA. They can do 3 lessons, that's great, and be very effective. They will use the St. Thomas lesson plan to write their lesson plans. Also in task 1, they will be submitting all the instructional materials they used, different assignments, activities, manipulatives, whatever they are using to teach that learning segment. They will submit to their scorer. I have encouraged them to take pictures of slides. If they're using, a whiteboard, whatever they're using in order to teach that lesson, they will need to submit that. Next, they will also be submitting what they are using for their anticipated assessment that we'll talk about more in task 3. And then edTPA has pretty lengthy commentary written responses that students are each asked to do. So for each of the 3 tasks, they will be writing upwards of 9 to 10 pages each for each of the 3 tasks. Okay, so task 1 is really that planning. Then we move into instruction. This is where they will be teaching their learning segment to your students. Throughout task 2, they will also be taking a video of themselves. Each different content area has different video requirements, and your student teacher will be able to share that with you. Here we ask, if at all possible, if you're available to help them with that video piece. It's helpful to them if you can start and stop the video. Just make sure that the sound is on. Each of the student teachers have gone through a video training now, and so they are prepared to use their cameras successfully. We also ask in task 2, even though St. Thomas has a co-teaching strategy, we ask that you are not present in that video, okay? Because really at TPA, the state is looking for the readiness of the student teacher. So we appreciate that. Thank you. And then they will also be writing pretty lengthy commentary responses based off of their reflection to their videos. The last task is assessment. This is where they will identify 3 focus students that they will really survey throughout the longevity of their edTPA, but they will submit the assessment, the final assessment from their 3 focus students. They will analyze data of the assessment data from the whole class. They will also provide feedback to the 3 focus students that they have identified, and then they will continue to write pretty lengthy commentary responses there. I do want to circle back on the 3 focus students. We have asked students to select 3 students from their class that show a varied range of academic abilities and needs. So really encouraging them to possibly have a struggling learner, more of your average learner, and then somebody who is maybe needing some extension on the higher end. They are also required to select one focus student that has a specific learning need, such as an IEP, a 504, EL, GT, you name it. Okay, so that's an overview of the 3 tasks. Next, how can we support these student teachers throughout their process? At St. Thomas, they went through a day of orientation. During our seminars where they leave your classrooms on Fridays, they are with me and we talk pretty extensively about the edTPA. They also have evening optional work sessions as well as video training. On your end, within the school setting, their St. Thomas supervisor has also been trained and is willing and able to help them. And then we ask, if you're willing to help them, that's great. This is definitely not something you need to take time out of your instruction or planning to do. But if you can even just kind of talk them through some of their thoughts, that's really where most of the time they need the most help from their mentor teacher. Okay, ethical coaching teacher candidates are encouraged to seek assistance, from all of those people that I just mentioned. The ultimate responsibility, though, of compiling all of the documentation lies within the teacher candidate. Okay, in the end, this is a readiness assessment of the teacher candidate's ability to work independently in the classroom and be recommended for a Minnesota teaching license. Okay, so on my end, as well as the other seminar instructors, we've made it very clear with the student teachers, we are willing and able to help them as much as possible, but we have also signed ethical coaching agreements that we can ask some prompting questions to them, but ultimately we cannot write this for them or give them really more than some prompts. Okay, the student teachers were given a few different support resources. They each have their edTPA handbook. They also have a St. Thomas edTPA guide, which includes something called Making Good Choices, which is just a great resource for them to determine kind of next steps in how they could go about writing commentaries. And then they also have the edTPA optional work sessions. Now, I do want you to know that those optional work sessions are in the evenings after school hours, so our student teachers should not be leaving early to attend those. Evidence of meeting proficiency, within each task. Task 1, they're looking to score a 13 or higher. Task 2, a 13 or higher. And task 3 is a 12 or higher, Each task has a max score of 25. Each of the tasks have rubrics that are aligned with what is being asked in each task. We recommend that the students shoot to score a 3 or higher on each rubric. Each student will be given a score report. And again, each teacher candidate from the University of St. Thomas must pass the edTPA in order for us to refer them for licensure to the state. If they do not pass, they will retake the necessary task or tasks until they do. Our students will be submitting for official scoring on November 7th. They start the transfer process closer to November 2nd or 3rd. So you may see a higher stress level for your student that last week of October as that beginning of November week is approaching. They will find out on November 27th if they have passed. That is just a quick overview of the edTPA. Want to keep you up to date and informed on what your what your student teacher is working on. I know I've heard from a few of you already that you can see there's a little bit of a stress level. We constantly are reminding the student teachers that this is just good teaching, as much as it feels like a hoop that they are jumping through, similar to an MCA, a MAP, any sort of standardized testing that our own K-12 students are taking. if they can show proficiency and are successful on their edTPA, they truly will be ready for all that requires them of a classroom teacher. So again, thank you so much for welcoming our student teachers into your classrooms. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. My contact information will be sent out to you with this presentation. Thank you so much.